Hello, everybody. Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching, and at PO Perception on Twitter here, and life coaching audio every day. Subscribe if you are new to the channel to get your daily dose of positivity and motivation every day. For about 15 minutes, we discuss a topic, and today we're going to talk about the importance of reinventing yourself. Reinventing yourself is super important simply because the value of doing so is necessary in every walk of life, in every area of life, because when one reinvents themselves, they get to a place of understanding. So often what happens with a person's core belief system is they defeat themselves through the things they don't believe are possible, and then all of a sudden they're trying to make some level of reality happen for themselves in their relationship life, in other areas of life, and they look and they go, wait a second, this isn't working, why isn't it working? And then they start to believe that they themselves are a failure. Every day is an opportunity to reinvent yourself based on what you're focused on, based on the meaning you give to past experiences, and based on the actions you take. And reinventing oneself is also important because the act of the reinvention opens you up to new possibilities. New possibilities creates new opportunities. New opportunities will improve the quality of your life all the way around each and every day. Now, how does one reinvent themselves? It comes down to, what am I focused on? What am I trying to accomplish, and why? What is my compelling why for the thing that I'm trying to accomplish? The definition of who I am is not who I have been, it's who I'm becoming. And so have a coach or someone that you work with is very valuable because it gives you the opportunity to look at, what am I trying to accomplish and my why. Most people say, I want to make more money, but what will that give you? Or I want a new career, but what will that give you? Will it give you more time at home? Will it give you financial freedom? Will it give you a sense of personal purpose? Will it give you a sense of professional purpose? Will it give you a chance to use your gifts and talents and abilities? I want a new relationship. Why? Well, because everyone else has one really isn't a good reason, is it? But if you say, because I finally understand myself and I know what I need in a partner and I know what I desire in a partner, that's a compelling why. And reinventing yourself is also giving yourself permission to not have been good at certain things in the past. Now, what I mean by that is very simple, but yet people get stuck on it sometimes. Look, you are an ever-evolving, ever-growing, ever-changing being, which is awesome. And that means that what you wanted when you were 20 and what you want when you are 40 and what you want when you're 85, they're going to be different things. And the stages of life, there's about 6 or so stages of life. We can run through those really quickly. First, we are children. Then we are teenagers. Then we're young adults trying to find ourselves. Then we're mid-age adults. Then we're senior citizens. And then we're end of life. So those 6 stages of life, the needs portfolio you have towards each of those stages will change and will evolve based on what people need from you and what you believe your focus is. In other words, your desire to earn big money probably isn't going to be that great when you're 10 years old, but by 30, it had better have changed at least a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle when you're trying to give your landlord some level of value. The other thing, too, is the reinvention of self sometimes gives you an inspiration to try new things, to be a new style of person, or to expand and learn something new for the sake of growth and development. Now, that can be really amazing and awesome if you let it, or it can be kind of intimidating if you become intimidated or fearful that you're not doing it right, that it's wrong to go in a certain direction. The reinvention of self also requires you to look at your belief system, the things that you came into the world with and were taught by family, friends, society, television, and all these things, and then go, is my belief system, is the way I believe working for me, or does it ultimately take me away from the person I'm trying to be? Does it take me away into territory where it's not making sense for me to do these things any further? And if what you're trying to accomplish or have been trying to accomplish isn't working for you for an extended period of time, what begins to happen at that moment is you start to doubt yourself completely. You start to doubt your ability to do new things. You say I'm stuck. You say I'm lost. You say I'm broken, or there's something off balance there, and ultimately then you begin to keep doing the same things you were always doing, expecting different results but not really getting them because you've lost your power of self-belief. And in that really becomes where you need to refocus yourself. Finding a place of joy, finding a place of passion, finding a place of purpose, all of that will make the money come. It'll make you more attractive to a prospective mate. It'll bring you into alignment with your true purpose, which, for the record, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. Each one of them has a unique, one-of-a-kind, complete purpose. And yet, we all kind of go into this corporate think tank. Well, get a job, hold a job, buy a house, maybe have a family, maybe have a spouse, save for retirement, and go and rinse and repeat. But that isn't necessarily it for everybody. There's people that go off on a religious journey. There's people that go off on a journey of personal value. There's people that go off in all different directions. And ultimately, the different directions you take is all about reinventing yourself. Who you were yesterday. We've all done silly things, I think, in high school or middle school when we were young kids. We didn't know any better. We were judgmental, or we were harsh, or we might have even been what today would be called a bully, or we might have been the nerd. But that doesn't mean that you don't reinvent yourself. Sometimes it's going to a new place. Sometimes it's taking time for spiritual reflection. What is my purpose? Sometimes it's taking time to learn a new skill or to grow a new talent. Other times, it's worth looking at, how do I want to contribute? How would I want to be remembered? Reinventing yourself happens every day. Sometimes you can do this with a wardrobe change. Sometimes you can do this with a makeover. Sometimes you can do this by talking to a new person. Or, setting up yourself for success in another fashion. And the other thing, too, is that reinvention doesn't mean you have to get away from who you were. It's just adding on to who you are, covering your weaknesses. We all have them. Each and every one of us has weaknesses. And I think one of the things that I work with clients on most is, look, just because you don't like doing the dishes doesn't mean you couldn't eventually live your passion and hire someone to do them for you. Or just because you're really not good with time management doesn't mean you can't be a good business person if you have a good personal assistant. Or just because you're not good with financial management doesn't mean that with a really good accountant you can't be a millionaire. Find ways to take the things you're good at and focus on them. Don't force yourself to do things you have no passion for. And yet, the things you do have passion for, do them because of that passion and not because it's a way for you to, quote, make it in the world. You see, when you live with passion, when you live with purpose, you constantly are getting an opportunity to reinvent yourself naturally, because the wide-eyed, childlike wonder that you view the rest of the world with is that reinventive state. It's that creative state. It's that state of being that says anything is possible. Now, when you begin to look at life as a series of obligations rather than opportunities, then you're not doing so well, because then you're like, I have to do. In reality, there's very few things in life we have to do. We have to pay taxes, we have to accept that change is part of our experience, and we have to, find a way to meet our basic needs. But everything else, you don't have to interact with people that bother you. You don't have to respond to a critic. You don't have to get riled up over political issues. You don't have to stay in a broken relationship or in an unhealthy work environment. Now, we convince ourselves that we have to do these things because, well, there's too much risk and fear of the unknown on the other side of, what if I took a risk? What if I made a change? But sometimes that change and that desire for variety is the very thing we crave, enough to make us unhappy if we're constantly doing things every day that we think we have to do, rather than things we understand that we get to do. The misery we have is pretty immense, because all of a sudden life becomes lived on autopilot and you start to wonder, isn't there more? And this happens for people in all stages of life. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or if you're a person struggling to find recovery from an addiction. The fact of the matter remains, every person needs to reinvent themselves from the inside out. How you see you matters more than how others see you, because if you don't see yourself in a positive light, then others won't either. You project the image that you want people to have of you. And if your image of yourself isn't growth minded, if your image of yourself is not progressive minded, other people are going to look at you and go, there's something missing about him, or she's not really that confident, or I don't think she can handle pressure, or I don't think he's very committed. And people make their judgments based on your presentation of self. And so if you need to reinvent your self image and then your goals or your aspirations, but it's the long range goal that needs to be reinvented, not the get up at 5, go to the gym, pump some iron, eat a good breakfast. Not those goals. Those goals matter, but those are habits. Those are habits that lead you to be able to meet your bigger goals, to retire at 40, or to be able to travel the world, or to be a world-renowned entertainer or local, celebrity, or to be a top-notch athlete. Everything that you want to become in the long run is determined by your habits, but you have to reinvent your focus. If something isn't working, yet people believe that it's what you have to do because it's what other people do, guess what? You're not somebody else, and you're not going to have somebody else's passion point for getting up every day and doing the same thing. Do it in a way that makes sense to you. Receive information in a way that makes sense to you. A lot of times they say read and study, but you might not be a person who likes to read. You might be a person that likes to receive information in a live event format or in a seminar format. Or maybe you like podcasts and audio, or maybe you are the person who likes to read, but you only like to read while running on a treadmill. You have to find what works for you and invent your own life. Your life is a power of your creative force and your focus. So don't try and be anybody else. Matter of fact, the more you try to duplicate being somebody else, you stifle your creative spirit, because we don't need two versions of whomever, whether we say Babe Ruth or whether we say Beyonce. We don't need two of those. That market is cornered, but you can be the first version and the best version of yourself. The only person you should be competing with at anything in life is the best version of yourself, and every day that competition should be, how can I make me better? How can I make my life better? How can I make my community better? It's not because your best isn't good enough. It's because when you strive to grow, you begin to fulfill your life destiny, your life goals, your dreams and aspirations. When you strive to contribute to the world around you, it gives you a sense of belonging and community, both socially as well as personal identity. But do not wrap your identity so much in what other people think that you lose sight of the fact that only you can do what you were called to do. Find it, and if you don't know what it is, find a coach to help you identify that, because one of the most important things you can ever do is realize and recognize that the dreams that you have yet to live will not carry on after you leave the planet. In other words, there are things that you are destined to do. There are businesses you are destined to start. There are songs that you are destined to write, or plays that you are destined to write. There are TV shows that you are destined to star in. There are social causes that you are destined to champion, and yet only you can do them in the way that you were given to do them. No one else can do them the way that you can. Yes, other people can do them, but they won't have your flair. They won't have your passion. They won't have your purpose. They won't have your vision, because they're not you. And the constant reinvention of self is every day. How can I be a better version of myself? How can I forgive myself for yesterday and make the most out of today? So many people talk about what the future economy is going to be. We can't know every detail of where the jobs are going to come from. We can't know the future details of how someone's going to react to us, but we can know ourselves enough to be able to say, you know what, regardless of what's coming, I'm ready. Regardless of what's coming, I will compete, I will conquer, and when I say compete, I will compete to be the best of myself, not with anybody else but with me. I will conquer my fear, I will overcome my self-doubt, and I will own. I will be the beast that rules the jungle in which I live. And my jungle is my inner jungle, in other words, what I think of myself, and my outer jungle, that everything I do, everything I touch will turn to gold, and I will begin to see that my life is a result of two things: the chances I take and the choices I make. My life is the chances I take and the choices I make, because those chances and choices create opportunities that create a connection with the rest of the world. What are you doing with yours? And I leave you today, Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching, at PO Perception on Twitter. Give us a follow, subscribe to this channel, and I remind you, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.